Hello.
Good morning. Can everyone hear me?
I can hear you just fine, yes.
Hello.
Charles, I can't hear you.
Well, I haven't said
Well,
anything
hold
yet.
on. Maybe. Okay, go ahead.
Can you hear me now?
Yes. Jasmine, can you hear
Yes,
me?
I hear you.
Okay, and Mr. Belt, can you hear me okay?
Yes, I can hear you just fine.
Okay, and I'm not sure who the other person is. Can you speak?
This is Jason.
Okay. We might need you to turn yours up or you speak a little bit louder once I bring the judge in so he can
Okay.
hear you. Okay. All right. I'll bring the judge in just a moment. Okay.
Jennifer,
Yes.
I have some witnesses that I don't see on here. The applicant is Celeste Siebenaler and her aunt Darlene and a gentleman named Paul, and I don't see them in the waiting room.
Did you send them the Zoom invite?
Yes, I'll go send them again. So we might need just a minute or two for them to
That's
join the
fine.
waiting room.
That's fine. What are their names again?
Celeste Siebenaler,
Okay.
Darlene Bickett,
Okay. All right. Well,
and Paul Siebenaler. Two Siebenalers and a Bickett.
okay. We'll wait for just a
Mr. Belt, is Marissa Mikado not attending?
I don't have that name, Mr. Carver.
She was one of the disinterested witnesses I spoke to.
I understand that the family gave me more names to talk to than I'm going to use.
Okay.
I believe we're going to clear up all your concerns, Mr. Carver.
I'm sure you will. I just wanted to clarify. Thank you.
Hey, I just wanted to ask before my clients get on, is there a standard fee for your services in Bastrop, or do you have your number that you're going to testify to? For your fee?
$600 is my standard fee.
No questions. That'll be perfect. Thank you, Mr. Carver. Let me go find out what happened and why they aren't on. Jen, can you please send the contact information for this Zoom meeting to Celeste and to Darlene?
Yes, right now.
Thank you. We're on in the waiting room. For those of you listening, that the emails are going out again to Celeste and to Darlene to see where they are.
So, Mr. Bell, did it not appear that Mr. Sherry had a bit of a Pulp Fiction style life?
I'm sorry. Charles, I went out to look at the property there in Bastrop, and
Morning,
his lifestyle
County Court of Law, March 31st, 2021. The court calls number 11620, estate of Sherry. Who is the represents the petitioner? You, Mr. Belt?
Yes, sir, Your Honor. I represent the applicant, and her name is Celeste Siebenaler. And for some reason, she's not in the waiting room. And so I just stepped out of my office and asked them to contact them immediately to get them in here. So I need a few more minutes for them to join us because obviously.
Okay, well, if it's going to be too long because we have, I have to leave and we have other cases set up until the time that we leave. So if it's not going to be immediately, we're going to have to reschedule.
I understand, Your Honor.
You can take about 2 minutes and see.
2 minutes is perfect. I'm going to go back and check where we are on the notice again. Hold on. I'm going to go on mute, but I'll be right back.
Mr. Belt, real quick, can you hear me?
I'm sorry, what?
You're set for, do you need the full 45 minutes that this
Oh,
case?
Lord, no. Oh, no. This
No?
is a simple prove up.
Okay,
We got
Okay.
3 witnesses, and
okay, that's good.
2
That's good
witnesses
to
and
know.
the applicant. This is not a 45-minute hearing.
Thank
I'm
you.
glad you asked, Jennifer. I'm sorry that we implied that it was going to be. At
Okay.
one time, this was a massive contested matter, and it got changed.
Okay, good.
You had
Okay,
that,
thank
I don't
you.
know if you remember, well, you may not have seen it in the file, but there was about an 8-line handwritten will that was filed by another applicant.
Mm.
The will turned out to be funny, and they withdrew it, and we're going forward with administration without a will.
Okay.
So what was going to be a long time isn't. Mr. Carver came up with something that we're going to clear up in testimony about somebody named similar to that that may have lived in Waco. Charles, I'm going to address that. I hope that we'll get that all cleared up. And you don't have to go into any length about your fee. That's a standard fee. It's a fair fee. Let's go with it. And appreciate what you've done so far, really.
Okay.
I'm going to go on mute for 1 second, guys, and find out where my people. Okay, here's my report for those that are still with us. All witnesses were active with my office yesterday. They had the link, they had all the information. There must be a problem. 2 of them are on one line. Paul and Celeste are on one line, and Darlene's in California on another line. And I know the judge gave me 2 minutes, and I'm gonna do everything I can to get this thing done today. Jason, I didn't say to you, I'm sorry for your loss, and
Thank you.
I'm glad to meet you.
I appreciate that. It's good to meet you too.
Jason, you have the most clear audio of anybody I've ever heard on any of these hearings.
It's funny you say that. I'm a professional game streamer on Twitch. So my
okay.
audio is pretty crisp. I have a studio grade mic
makes sense,
sitting in front of me. So thank you. That makes me feel pretty good, actually.
Here's Miss Bickett. Good morning, Darlene.
Good morning.
Have you by any chance been in communication with Celeste?
Not this morning. I haven't.
Okay, because we were waiting for her to join us. The judge gave us 2 minutes. Let's hope she joins us. She was in communication with us yesterday. We expected her on. Maybe she's just running a few minutes late.
She had a doctor's appointment this morning at 8 with a specialist.
Jennifer, would it be possible to, since we have Ms. Bickett here, to just go ahead and get her testimony in recess if we can't get the other witnesses available?
Would be in agreement to that.
Let me ask the judge. Hold on. The judge said that if you guys can get all your testimony in through the witnesses that we have and stipulate to the evidence that the other witness would provide, we could go ahead and get started and be done. What do you guys think about that?
I can
Mr. Carver?
stipulate. Yes, I can stipulate to
Thank
what
you.
the other
Then we're ready
witnesses
to
have said.
proceed.
Okay, we're ready, Judge.
And if Celeste joins us, we'll bring her in and reaffirm.
She's trying to connect now.
Celeste is trying to connect now.
Great.
I just got the link. I
She-
didn't have a link.
She just got the link. I called her on the phone. She's,
Thank you, Ms. Bickett.
if you want to jump order and start with me, that's fine while she joins in.
Charles, you're in
If
agreement?
everyone,
That's fine with me.
if everyone
And the
wants
judge
to,
comes, Ms. Bickett. Go ahead,
Okay.
Jennifer.
can everyone that, if you're not speaking, go ahead and put your, yourself on mute? Except when you're speaking, of course.
Hold on. I don't know why I'm having issues right now. It's so frustrating.
I put it on mute.
Let me walk inside
I
real
don't
quick.
know.
We're gonna have to go inside. I'm sorry.
Okay, we'll go back on the record. Clause number 11620. Mr. Bell, would you like to proceed?
Yes, Your Honor, I would. Judge, we're so happy to be in front of you today with what we think is an agreement. Because if you remember this case, it started out right after Mr. Sherry passed, and we filed an application to determine heirship and for an independent administrator. And then someone found a handwritten will that was submitted to the court. And then after some discovery issues, that will was withdrawn, and we're before the court today on our third amended application to determine heirship and for the appointment of an independent administrator without a bond. The testimony is
Okay,
going to
the
be.
last
that
I had
Mr.
reviewed was a second amended, and now I do have the third amended in front of me. And I will also
Thank you, Your Honor.
say that I have reviewed Mr. Carver's report filed and will take judicial notice of it. Okay, Mr. Bell,
Thank you, Your Honor.
would you like to call first?
Well, I would like to call Darlene Bickett first, Your Honor.
Okay, would you raise your right hand, please? Do you swear the testimony you give in this cause will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
So help me God.
You may proceed.
Thank you. Is your name Darlene Bickett?
Yes,
Where do you live, Miss Bickett?
in El Cajon, California.
Okay. And you are the surviving sister of Ron Sherry,
Yes, I am.
and you knew Mr. Sherry well as his sister.
Absolutely.
Is it correct that Mr. Sherry died in Bastrop County on April the 11th, 2019?
Yes, he did.
And he owned property there, which consisted of some acreage, a home, and some barns. Is that correct?
Yes,
And some bank accounts, I forgot to ask. So a
Yeah.
necessity exists to administer his estate, correctly?
yes,
To the best of your knowledge, did Mr. Sherry die without a will?
yes, he did.
Did he die with no wife and no children?
That is correct.
And he's survived by you, the only living sibling, and two other siblings, one brother, Mr. Franklin, and one sister, Jasmine.
It was
And
my
one,
John,
I mean, his other child died. I mean, his other sibling died, leaving Jasmine and Jason. Is that
correct,
correct?
correct.
And so you've reviewed the application where, based on the descent and distribution, you would get a third, Celeste Siebenaler would get a third, and Jason and Jasmine would each get a sixth as the surviving children of the other siblings, correct?
Yeah, that's correct.
You have signed a waiver and approved the appointment of Celeste Siebenaler as the independent applicant to move forward with this case as the independent administrator, correct?
Yes,
And you know her to have no criminal record, and you know her to have no mental instabilities, correct?
That is correct.
And you approve of her being appointed independent administrator to serve without a bond?
Absolutely, 100%.
Thank you. Mr. Carver, in his report, found that there was possibly a marriage between your brother and Kathleen Lynn Barr in Bell County. Do you know anything about your brother ever being married?
That is incorrect. My brother never married. I'm aware of Mr. Carver's finding of that, but I believe it would have put my brother at 10 years old when he married this woman that I've never heard of. So that did not happen.
Okay. I'll pass the witness, Your Honor.
Mr. Carver, do you have any questions of this witness?
Just a few, Your Honor. Ms. Bickett, we previously spoke about the estate of Ronald Sherry. Is that correct?
Yes, we did.
And upon his death, he was single?
Yes.
Did anyone ever hold themselves out to be a child of Mr. Sherry?
No.
Did anyone ever make a claim to be the child of Mr. Sherry?
No.
Did you ever hear any rumors of anyone being a child of Mr. Sherry?
No, I did not.
And have you any financial interest in the estate?
Only in what I've put out so far in the 2 years since my brother passed, and my interest would be to be reimbursed for that when things settle. That's it.
And so the estate owes you some money in the form of loans or other debts?
I don't know if it's a loan. I think I offered to help with legal costs so this could proceed to where we need. That's my interest.
And nobody promised you anything in exchange for your testimony today?
No.
And regarding the alleged marriage, Mr. Sherry had a brother that was in Bell County at the time. Is that correct?
My brother had a brother in Bell County.
Yes, that was Mr. Jack Sherry.
Jack Sherry has not lived in Texas to my knowledge. He has been a resident. He was a resident in the state of New Jersey until his death in 2017.
At the time of this alleged marriage, did Jack Sherry live in or around Waco, Texas?
Not to my knowledge, no.
All right, I'll pass the witness.
No further questions, Your Honor.
I'm sorry, Mr. Chair, Mr. Belt, I think we talked over each other. Do you have any?
I'm sorry,
further questions
I
for
said
Ms.
no further. I had nothing
Oh.
further.
Okay, do you have another witness to call?
Yes, sir. And I'm so happy that she's on. Your Honor, I want to introduce you to Celeste Siebenthaler,
Hi.
a
Would you
young
raise your
mother
hand?
and complicated
Swear the
getting on the Zoom. Good morning, Celeste.
Hey, do you swear the
Thank you,
testimony
Judge,
you
will
give
swear
on
you
this call will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, sir.
Okay, you may proceed.
So would you state your name, please?
Celeste Siebenthaler.
Ms. Siebenthaler, your aunt, Darlene Bickett, just testified that your uncle was survived by Darlene Bickett, his sister, a nephew, Jason Sherry, a niece, Jasmine Sherry, and you as the survivor of his other sibling, Karen Sherry. Is all that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. Do you know that Mr. Sherry died in Bastrop County on April the 11th, 2019,
Yes.
at the age of 63?
Yes.
Okay. And you've been out to his property and you've seen it, and it's presently in need of some administration. Is that a fair statement?
It's been a need. Yes, sir.
And there are bank accounts and other things that you would like to get together and gather and report to the other heirs. Is that correct?
Of course.
Now, when Mr. Sherry passed, besides the relatives that I've just mentioned, are there anybody else?
No, sir.
Mr. Carver, in his digging for information and interviewing the witnesses, came up with a possibility that Mr. Sherry, your uncle, had been married before in the Waco areas. Do you remember that in his report?
No, he has not been married.
That's what I wanted to ask you. In your knowledge, has the deceased Ronald Sherry ever been married or had any other family?
No.
That's okay. You are asking to be appointed the independent administrator. Ms. Bickett testified that you've had no criminal problems, that you've had no mental problems, and that you're qualified and not disqualified for serving as the independent administrator. Is that correct? You froze for a second there. I didn't get your answer.
Oh, no. You asked if I was qualified, correct?
Yes. Yes.
Yes, I'm qualified.
And you're prepared to follow the instructions of Judge Eskew and let our office help you with your duties?
Of course. Yes, sir.
I'll pass the witness, Your Honor.
Mr. Carver, do you have any questions for this witness?
Just a few, Your Honor. We previously spoke about the estate of Mr. Ronald Sherry, is that correct?
We did not talk, me and you. You talked to everybody else, but I didn't get a chance to talk to you.
Mr. Sherry's had no children, is that correct?
No children. Yes, sir.
And if he had any children, you would know about them, is that correct?
Yes.
Did he ever hold himself out as being the parent of another child?
No.
Of any child, I'm sorry.
No, sir.
And did anyone claiming to be a child live with him?
No.
Did you ever hear any rumors of anyone being his child?
No.
Did he have any, and you mentioned his siblings that are alive and deceased. Is that a full account of those siblings?
Yes, sir. And we verified everything, so.
Okay. And regards to this marriage, in Waco, 1966, Mr. Sherry would have been about 10 or 12 years old at the time, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Mr. Sherry's brother, Jack Sherry, was he ever in the Army?
Not to my knowledge, and if he was, he wasn't in Texas. I'm not sure. It was many, many years ago. I think he was in some type of service, but I don't think ever stationed in Texas. So my aunt
have you any financial interest in the estate?
No.
Does the estate owe you any money?
No.
Has anybody promised you anything in exchange for your testimony today?
Of course not.
All right, I pass the witness, Your Honor.
Felt any further questions?
No further questions, Your Honor.
Do you have any additional testimony to present?
No, sir.
Okay. Mr. Carver, the court has taken judicial notice of your report. Do you want to make any additional report?
Just that, Your Honor, based off my research, I do believe that there was a gentleman, Ronald Frederick Sherry, who was married in Bell County in 16th of May, 1966. His listed age on that marriage certificate is 23 with a birth year of 1943. He was married to a Kathleen Lynn Barr, age 17, with a birth year listed of 1949. The certificate number is 031433. After speaking with the witnesses and the testimony today, I can conclude with the applicant's third amended application that Mr. Sherry was not in fact married, and I believe the application is true and correct in its form.
All right, the court will grant the third amended application for the determination of heirship and will grant it in its entirety and will name the applicant as the independent administrator. Does anyone want to make any representations about bond?
Your Honor, if I may, I believe the applicants to be good and trustworthy people in this matter, and I think that they can serve without bond.
Okay, I believe that I need to appoint some bond. Would $100 cash bond be sufficient?
Yes.
Any objection to that?
No objection.
Okay, that is granted. Is there anything further?
Mr. Carver's fees?
Mr. Carver, your fees?
$600, Your Honor.
Okay, any objection to that?
No objections.
Okay, that is ordered. Okay, Mr. Belt, have you been to Weimar lately?
I was going to go on Saturday for a playoff baseball game, Judge, but unfortunately Shiner beat Weimar and they didn't get to play Bosqueville. So
well,
I haven't been to Weimar now in a year.
Those pesky Shiner kids have been doing well in all sports lately. So.
Yes, they have. Yes,
Okay.
they have.
All right, well, thank you, and this will conclude our hearing. Thank you, Mr. Carver.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you.
Jasmine, I'm sorry for your loss.
Thank
Jasmine, I'm
you.
sorry for your loss. I didn't see you fast enough when I was talking to Jason.
Yeah, I was gonna mention. I was like, it's okay, no big deal.
No, I don't want to miss that. And have you guys sent me your email address so that when we get to working on the money and stuff, we'll be able to keep y'all in the loop?
The only person I've spoken to was a Michael Sipes.
Mhm,
So
same.
Okay.
he has my email.
Then if you have Michael's email, and Michael's no longer with me out of surprise last Friday.
Oh.
So,
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, if you had his email, it was M Sipes. Mine is T Belt. It's the same email, just T Belt. And Jason, Jasmine, if y'all stay with me as we do things for the estate, we'll report to you.
Okay.
Okay.
That sounds good to me. Okay. Yeah.
Mr. Belt, if you could just give me a call whenever you get a moment this afternoon or today. I just want to clarify a
course.
couple things, but that's administrative.
Of course, I'll do that, Charles.
You have a good one. Thank you.
Everybody, the hearing's over, and I thank you so much for participating. It was great to see you. And Celeste, I can post the $100 bond. I go down there some, and I'll take care of the bond. He was kind to us, and I think we ought to promptly put the bond up, and so I can take care of that. If
Okay.
you want to throw it in, you can throw it in, but I don't mind taking care of it.
I mean, I could throw it in too when I see you. And do we sign the paperwork that you sent
Yes,
over?
the judge didn't say that. Here's the wrap up. When he sends me the order, which should take a day or two, I'm going to send you proof of facts, the oath, and Darlene's going to get her proof of facts. It's basically the simple questions I asked you at the beginning about Mr. Sherry being a resident of Bastrop County and him passing in 19 and him not being married and who the family is. So that's in your proof of facts for both of you. And I'll get that taken care of in the oath to you for your signature. You can come into the office and have it notarized, or we can notarize it on the Zoom meeting, Celeste, whatever's easiest for you.
Well,
You know
I
where
don't
the
mind.
office is?
I can come to you and bring you the money as well if you want. Whenever it's ready. If you
We
want. me to.
accept your offer.
Okay. Perfect. So you just
Listen, on the $600 fee that was assessed from Mr. Carver's side, I don't know how much of that is included in the filing fee. In Travis County, we include the ad litem's fee in the filing fee, which makes them really high. So I'm going to find out how much he's owed, and that may be what he wants me to call him about in the afternoon. But that's what I'm going to do. Guys, it's a pleasure to see everybody. My wife's having some eye surgery right now, so I'm going to jump off and go pick her up. But I want to wish everybody a happy Easter. I want to tell you all I'm sorry for your losses, and I'm proud to be your lawyer. I'll see you all on the other side of Easter. Bye-bye.
all right.
Bye.
All right.